Okay. Welcome to the second video of the 2012-13 academic year FLOC Distance Learning Program. In this video, I'll be going over a few tips, tricks, and pieces of advice that may really help with managing your personal finances during your academic career. First tip here is to look for free stuff. It's an easy tip to follow. If you can find things for free that you may otherwise have paid a little bit of money for, like a meal, ranging to things that you may have paid a lot of money for, like a couch, for example, you'll have that much more money to put toward things like transportation, books, groceries, and other unavoidable costs of living as a college student. On-campus events will often have free food, for example, even though they are typically just hors d'oeuvres. You can cut the cost of a meal out of your day by filling up on mini quiches and fresh fruit and cheese and crackers and so on and so forth. That's like $5 or $6 that you can spend on something else that you want or need to pay for. And doing this often enough will add up. If I'm being honest here, I gotta admit that most of the apartments that I've had, I've furnished through the curbside depot. It's usually a safe enough approach, but if you do it this way, be sure that you double check to ensure that you're not getting something that has mold or bed bugs or whatever. Saving money is not worth that much, I think. A good time and place to look for furniture is near student housing at the end of the spring semester, especially for those of you who go to or live near pricier colleges. Many of the students at these kinds of places will just toss out a ton of lightly used and completely fine stuff just because they don't want to move it. I've actually seen students at high-end universities throw out wads of cash. I don't know why. Maybe they just didn't feel like having anything in their pockets, but there you go. If you're squeamish about taking furniture from somebody else that you've never met, keep an eye out to see if friends and family have any extra stuff lying around that they will never use again, and see if you can't take it from them. You can also find free things online. A site that I have seen used by people in the past is freecycle.org, and people use that to set up groups where unwanted belongings are exchanged for free. But I don't know how popular that is these days. There's also Craigslist. No matter where you live, there's a Craigslist, and it will have listings for nearby stuff. Craigslist is useful for more than just browsing apartments or rooms for rent, or those weird personal ads they have on there. Most of the things that you could want to buy are on there too, and some of them are on there for free. There's a free stuff category in the for sale section of Craigslist, which I've obviously circled here. Like the curb, it's an all-right place to find furniture, and there are also other interesting things on there too. You can browse it every once in a while to get a sense of what is available there, and you might find something that you've been looking for but haven't bought yet. I was looking at this as I was making up the plan for this video, and the top few postings included a copy of Guitar Hero 3 for Xbox 360, a treadmill, a king-sized mattress and box spring, a dishwasher, and about 50 to 80 truckloads of dirt. And who could say no to that much dirt? Another thing that you might want to do is do some research and shop around before you buy something. And this will help control impulse buys, which can be huge money wasters. You can do this with everything from groceries and meals to where you're going to go out tonight, to clothes, cell phone plans, laptops, healthcare, and grad schools, graduate programs. You don't want to buy an $80 jacket at the mall if you can get an almost identical one for $35 at Target. And you don't want to buy like an $89 per month phone plan on a whim if you can do some research online and find a $30 one that does virtually all of the same things. Similarly, on a more large scale here, don't go to a grad school where most of your expenses you're going to have to pay through yourself through loans. If you can get into a program that's fully funded, you should compare prices before you go shopping while you're out, and use that Google to your advantage. Going out for a night on the town is a good way to be out about $50 by the time morning rolls around, and nothing sucks up money like a video game habit. You should look for cheaper entertainment. If you have a particular hobby that's kind of expensive, like gaming, or if you just want to get out and meet new people, you can look into clubs and groups that may be available at your college, like a film club, for example. If you really enjoy watching film, instead of renting a movie or going out to the theater or whatever, you can see if there's a club on campus. You can watch movies for free and have some company to talk about those movies with. Instead of buying the latest game in the Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed franchise, see if there's a video game club. Instead of going to a nightclub, you can go to a music appreciation club or something else that fits closely with the theme of wherever you would have gone otherwise. You may also find that you enjoy spending time in parks. It's a really pretty park right there. Could be a good idea for a date, maybe, if you're significant other and you are both running short on cash. And another thing that you can do instead of going out for the evening is to have a smaller get-together with your friends at your place or theirs. And you can do almost anything at a bar or a club or a restaurant or whatever that you can at your place or your friend's place. If some of the appeal to you is that atmosphere and meeting new people, you can find out maybe if there are some house parties or gatherings or fraternal organizations or whatever that you can go out and meet people at. But if you do that, I would strongly suggest you bring a friend or two for the sake of safety, especially if you're going to a house party, and to try to have fun responsibly. A note of having fun responsibly, you should consider limiting your vices. And I'm sure you've had lots of people tell you that you shouldn't drink or smoke or whatever for health reasons or whatever. Another reason you might want to do this is that it can take a bite out of your wallet. I mean, gambling is obviously a money waster. People go to casinos expecting to get cleaned out of whatever they bring with them. House always wins, I guess, is usually the case. And that also includes lottery tickets. So you might want to take into consideration that your odds of winning the lottery are about as high as the odds that if you flush your money down the toilet, it will start spitting millions of dollars back up at you. Smoking is another really costly habit, and that's not just for your health. In some states, if you smoke a pack a day, you're throwing about $300 down the drain each month. That is a lot of money for something that has virtually no benefits. For those of you who are of age, going to a bar is a good way to be out $20 or $30 by the end of the evening. And like I said, or implied actually before, you can cut back on those costs by doing it with a few friends at your place or theirs, or you could just cut it out entirely. Might be good for your grades too. And let's say you live in the state of Washington or Colorado, where pot is now legal for recreational use. It's still not cheap, and I'm not saying that any of you would ever do this in any other circumstance, but it will take another chunk of money out of your wallet. And if you do these things, cutting them out of your budget might not only save you money, but it might help bring your GPA up. Party people tend to suffer academically. Another tip is to ask yourself if you really need that before you buy something. Consider ways of meeting needs without making purchases. If your laptop breaks, there are ways that you can do all the things that you need to do without dropping $500+ for another one. Like, for example, going to your campus's library or computer lab, or using your phone for little other things that you want to do, if you have a phone that can do that. One thing that may be appealing is brand names on things. Like if you need a bag, you can get a bag at Walmart or Payless or Goodwill or Target or whatever is cheaper, rather than getting something that's a bit more expensive. I know that probably none of you are in any position to buy a $5,000 Gucci bag like the one pictured here, but you can shop around before you purchase. There's also electronics. Electronics are huge money suckers. If you want to listen to music, a $10 pair of earbuds may be a better choice for you as a college student than this $1,300 pair of ultrasone headphones. Probably don't really need a camcorder unless you have a sort of professional reason for doing it, especially now that most phones these days have video recorders built into them. You don't really need a new game console, and in addition to sucking up your money, it will probably also waste a lot of your time. It's a good way to miss out on completing assignments. Wondering if you already have a decent phone, I don't see any reason why you would need to buy an iPhone 5, for example. Those are about $200 to $400. Similar with television and so on and so forth. It also applies to smaller purchases. Everyone likes to look nice. I don't know if you need to get a super large quantity of cosmetics, for example. And even if you do get, a big chunk of cosmetics, you don't need to buy the more expensive ones. It's helpful to have some caffeinated beverages to get you through studying and those morning classes and so on and so forth. But, compare prices first. Energy drinks are relatively pricey, and for the price of about 7 or 8 of them, you can get yourself a, coffee pot and enough coffee grounds to last you about a month. Note of saving money, you should look for student discounts. Lots of places have them, especially those that are more related to entertainment. If you really need to watch The Hobbit on opening day, just be sure to bring your student ID with you. And be sure to ask at the counter wherever you go to buy anything if they have a student discount. If you feel shy or embarrassed about doing that, then you can look on a website or wherever ahead of time to see if they have student discounts. Good call too, I guess. There are a lot of different opinions on whether or not you should get a credit card, and some of them range from do not get a credit card ever to get a credit card and make sure you make like one purchase a month with it. I've even heard people say that you should get a credit card and then cut it up as soon as it comes in the mail just for the sake of that credit. And I suppose it really comes down to choosing between risking having a lower credit score against the possibility of owing thousands of dollars plus interest to a creditor. My advice in general would be to avoid getting a credit card while you're in college. Just more broadly, big part of the reason, most of the reason why we have been in a recession for a while now is because of high-risk lending and people who want to consume beyond their means and then couldn't afford to pay for it, and interest and fees. And as college students, I would guess that your guys' means are pretty small right now. So learn to say no to people who ask you to sign up for a credit card. People who are pushing credit cards on other people are there to make money, not looking out for your best interest. Thrift stores, garage sales, and Craigslist are your friends. Beyond just the free stuff factor, buying things used is a good way to save money. In case you haven't been able to tell, I absolutely love Craigslist. About a week ago, I bought a laptop in perfect condition on there for maybe 20% of its retail price. It's great for finding large purchases, small purchases. I use it to find the most affordable apartments in an area that I would want to live. Pretty much any item that you could want to buy can be found on Craigslist. Thrift stores and yard sales and Goodwill, all of these are a little more hit and miss. Yard sales typically only tend to be open or occur in warmer seasons, so there's that. And when they do happen, it's sort of you never really can go into them expecting to buy any particular item, but they are really affordable, crazy low prices. Um, and thrift stores are a little less cheap than garage sales typically, but they are open year-round and they have a little bit more of a selection. But in the case of both of them, you really can't go looking for any specific kind of item. You just have to sort of browse and take what you can find. Not only is walking or bicycling a good way to help yourself stay fit, it's also a huge money saver. Taking public transport can cost upwards of $5 or $6 a day, depending on where you live. And it's sort of similar for paying to put gas in your car if you have a car. And this is, again, depending on where you live. Spending $40 on a used bike at a pawn shop or wherever could pay for itself within a week or two, and it's a great way to get from place to place quickly while keeping yourself healthy. Bicycle. Another good piece of advice is to learn how to cook a decent meal for yourself, and this does not include ramen or mac and cheese, although there's definitely a place for those things in most people's college diets. For the same price of a takeout meal in most places, and even more so for deliveries or dining out, since you have to include tips in those cases. You can cook yourself food that will last 3 to 5 days in leftovers or in different recipes with similar ingredients. If you don't know how to cook, that's not really a problem. There are a ton of websites out there with more recipes than you could read in a lifetime. My personal favorite is allrecipes.com. Its user rating system pops the most useful and enjoyed recipes up to the top, and the comment sections always have really helpful tips on how to make it a little better depending on your personal tastes. In addition to that, there's also myrecipes.com, foodnetwork.com, and simplyrecipes.com. And if you'd rather watch cooking videos instead of just looking up recipes, you might want to check out Good Eats on YouTube. And if your first few attempts at cooking are flops, keep trying. No one is a master chef on their first try. And within a few weeks of cooking for yourself, you should be able to make meals that you like better than what you can find at most restaurants, because you're tailoring the flavors to your own personal needs, not trying to appeal to whatever tastes better to the broader swath of people. Should try to protect your personal information. Do you think you can trust your house guests? Maybe they're your friends, family, whatever. How about your roommates? What about your roommates' house guests? And how much do you trust your roommate to lock the door every time they leave the house, or when they're like the last one home at night? How much do you trust people in the area around you to never break into your house at night? If you keep sensitive documents at your place, it's a good idea to have a locked drawer to put them in. A social security card, a box of replacement checkbooks, a birth certificate, all of those things should go into a locked drawer unless you are using them at any given moment. And at least as relevant to your identity security is computer safety. When you're using a public computer, make sure to never let the browser save your passwords. Always be sure to log out of your email, your FAFSA account, your online banking account, your university or college ID account, social networking websites, and so on and so forth. And be sure to log out as the user on your operating system, Windows, Mac, or as unlikely as it may be that you'll be using this, Unix-based operating system as well when you're done. I don't actually know if you even need to do that on Unix, but there's that. Another important part of online safety is having secure passwords that you can remember and don't need to write down. A secure password should have at least one lowercase letter, one uppercase letter, one number, and one non-alphanumeric character, like a period or an asterisk. An easy method to use might be to put a word that you can remember as your password, but to use LeetSpeak. That's Leet spelled 1337. And here's an example of LeetSpeak. Rob Mercurio here says, I speak Leet like your feet speak Reek. This is an example that only uses letters and numbers, but there are other versions that incorporate other symbols as well. You can look up different ways of writing in this general type of style, I guess we'll call it, by doing a search for it and seeing what pops up, or checking out some of these. Also, make sure that your computer, your personal computer, has a proper antivirus program installed. You can download a couple of fairly decent ones for free at cnet.com. And some of the ones that I've really liked in the past have been AVG and Avast. The benefit of opening a student checking account is that the checking accounts typically have much lower fees and overdraft charges, and they also don't require as much money to open. Also, student debit cards often, not always, have the option to use foreign ATMs. Those are ATMs outside of the bank's network several times a month without incurring an additional fee, which is something that you definitely need to be aware of. There are banks which will charge like $8 each time you use a foreign ATM. And remember that last piece of advice about shopping around. Not all student checking accounts are equal, so just do your research. And opening a student checking account can also help you keep better track of your money, which leads to the next tip. Track and budget your expenses. And this doesn't have to be something that you always do for every purchase, but it's a good idea to go a month where you keep some kind of record of every expenditure that you make. Probably the easiest and most accurate way of doing this is to make sure that everything is accounted for through your checking account, and then to look at your monthly bank statement when you're done to see where all your money is going. This way you can clearly see what things you're spending money on that you might not need to. That, oh my God, I spent $350 a month this month on eating out at restaurants and smoking cigarettes moment might be a game changer in terms of how you spend your money. And there are also online resources with budgeting. You can check out mint.com, for example. If you're living on student loans and financial aid where everything comes in a fat chunk of money at the start of every semester rather than on an income from working where you make money throughout the course of your month, weekly or biweekly or whatever, it's important to, once you figure out how much money you spend a month, multiply it by the number of months that you'll have before your next series of financial aid checks comes in. And that way you can figure out just how much you will need to cut out of your expenses so that you aren't flat broke well before you get your financial aid refund check or whatever. When you are doing this tracking, you should leave a margin in your budget for unexpected and periodic expenses. And once you've figured out what you can spend within a month and how to change it to meet your monthly needs, make sure that you leave yourself a little wiggle room there for those things. If you balance your account so that you have a wiggle room of maybe $5 every month and something major comes up, like you need to replace a part in your car, someone stole your textbooks, something along those lines, you're really going to be up the creek. A good minimum amount of monthly flexible room in your budget is about $70 to $100, and it should be cumulative so that the next month you have $140 to $200 flex dollars in your account, and so on and so forth. Savings accounts are also good for this. So you can take that out of your checking account and put it into a savings account so that you don't spend it on a whim or whatever. Bounce checks and overdraft fees are pretty harsh. The average fee at this point in time is about $40. If you have a debit card, it's pretty important that you don't screw this up, because if your checking account goes into the red because, for example, you wrote someone a check a month and a half ago and they're just now cashing it, but you forgot about it, and it wipes your account down to maybe $5, and then without realizing that that happened, you make 5 or 6 small purchases. So to here, thing of body wash there, a lunch at McDonald's or whatever, you might wind up being charged over $200 in overdraft fees for those tiny little purchases, which is an awful experience. But if it happens, make sure that you talk to your bank. Talking to the people who are charging you fees can help you cut those fees out much more easily than avoiding it for a long time. So stay on top of that. And don't let it happen again, because the more that it happens, the less likely they are to forgive you for it. You should also pay your bills on time. Be punctual. If you don't pay your bills on time, companies can and will charge you late fees. If you accumulate enough of those, it can go so far as to double or more the amount that you owe. This actually happened to me once when I was in college because I made an impulse buy of a phone plan at a mall kiosk when the guy flagged me down, and I didn't think about how it would fit into my budget. See how that works. After about a month or two of not being able to pay the bill, I canceled the plan early, but I couldn't pay the early cancellation fee. I wound up owing an initial amount of something like $200, but after all the fees they charged me, I had to pay them about $450. If I had looked into it ahead of time, and if I had stayed on top of the money that I owed them instead of letting it slip, I would have saved myself some money. At this point, I only, sign on to prepaid phone plans so that doesn't happen. But that's just my personal preference. Either way, you should learn from my mistake there. One of the cool things about going to college is that you're going to run into a lot of people with a fairly diverse set of backgrounds. And some of those backgrounds may include having parents with lots and lots of money. Some of your new friends might be getting an allowance that allows them to do things that many other people living on a student's budget can't do. If your friend wants you to go do really expensive things with them, like, I don't know, for example, go to a really high-end restaurant or a concert with $100 tickets that's states away, so you'd also have to pay travel costs, or I don't really spend my money on really expensive entertainment usually, but, think of your own examples. At any rate, there's no shame in saying something like, I'm a broke college student, I can't afford that. If you feel too embarrassed to say that, then lie. Lie your butt off. Tell your friend that you have an important family event going on, or you already told someone else that you'd go out with them somewhere else that night. If you're too embarrassed to say you can't afford it and lying to your friend would make you feel too guilty, you could try suggesting that you and your friend do something else instead. Like, instead of the high-end restaurant, go somewhere cheaper or do a home-cooked meal. Instead of going to that concert, see some local musicians and pay a low cover charge and enjoy yourself for the night. Even if you already have scholarships, you should look for more scholarships every single semester. And if you don't have scholarships, definitely do it. It's time-consuming, but if you do a little research and apply to a handful of scholarships that you're eligible for every semester, it will really help you out in paying for college, and you also might get a big tuition refund check. So do that this semester, and then next semester try applying to a higher number of scholarships. While you're doing it, it's important to try to avoid getting scammed too. You should never have to pay for it first. You shouldn't have to provide them with your Social Security number. You definitely shouldn't have to supply them with your bank account information. So watch out for that kind of stuff. And there's a number of different search engines, search websites that you can use to look into scholarships. You may also want to check out your college's financial aid website to see if they have information on scholarships or if they offer scholarships themselves. You can also look for a job on campus. On-campus jobs are conveniently located. They also tend to be a lot more understanding when it comes to their employees needing some flexibility so that they can take certain classes and also have time to study. Also, make sure you look into work-study every semester. They're also like that, and you might find a position through work-study that could benefit you more in your planned career later on in life. If you enjoy knitting, sewing, painting, writing programs, modifying video games, providing tutoring, writing essays, getting things organized, playing an instrument, singing, so on and so forth, you can take those things to the bank. If you're an arts and craftsy kind of person, you should check out Etsy.com. You can sell little projects that you may only have been doing for fun for, maybe not a huge amount of money, but it'd be worth it. If you're a tech-savvy kind of person, you can, I don't know, program in Java or Python, for example, or you create mods for video games. You could do that kind of stuff for people and get paid. You can design some websites, for example. There are a number of people who are always willing to pay someone for tutoring or for papers and essays or to have stuff organized for them. Once again, make use of the Craigslist there. If you can put up an ad letting people know that you're providing that service, you'll probably get some responses. There's a couple of different ways to earn money with musical ability. Probably the most above ground way is to join a band and play with them or solo, someplace where you can collect some money from cover charges, for example. Or you can put on a house show with other people who are musically talented and let people know that you're trying to raise some money to get by. Another way that you may be able to earn money and earn it more quickly that I've seen often is to play an instrument on the subway and ask for donations from the Metro patrons. They are trapped and they can't go anywhere. The better you are at performing, the more money you'll get from people this way. Just make sure that it's legal in the city you're living in. And also, if you're doing this, do it safely. Don't do it alone. Go with one or two people who are also musical to do it with you. Or just to, watch out for you and then split up the money at the end, just to be fair. Depending on your voice, you may not even need a musical instrument, although instruments will probably get you more money. Although they don't do it for money, the a cappella group, Naturally 7, goes out and performs on subways just for fun, as you can see in the video linked to here. If you can do something like that, people will be crawling over each other figuratively to throw their money at you. Unless you're in New York City, where you may get a few dollars and a lot of eye rolls for each performance. Also, check out this list of 31 ways to make money while in college. And don't just take my word for it on these things. You can learn something from people who give money management advice for a living. There's a chance that a nonprofit or a government agency near you provides free financial literacy classes. You can also look for lessons online. And also, if you come to college night this year, and that's December 15th, 5:30, you can contact me for more details on that. But there's going to be a workshop on personal finance for college students offered there. For those of you with roommates, make sure that everyone has clear expectations about what they're supposed to pay for. Incorporate your share into your budget. The rent, the utilities, the miscellaneous expenses like toilet paper, paper towels, certain food items, if you share stuff in the kitchen, and so on and so forth. If you and your roommate have clear expectations, it's much less likely that someone's not going to pull their weight. There won't be misunderstandings or conflicts, and it'll just be a better time for everyone in general. This is just a little tip. Instead of using the 85 cents and the wadded up dollar bill in your pocket on a vending machine to pick up a soda, leave it in your pocket and toss it into a jar when you empty your pockets at the end of the night. You can leave it there as a petty cash fund and deposit whatever is left over at the end of the semester. I mean, if you buy a soda for $1.50 or whatever every weekday while you're on campus, you're spending about $30 each month on what is essentially carbonated water, caffeine, and corn syrup. So think about that. You can get your free credit report 3 times a year, just 3 times a year. And this helps with managing your credit to see if you're in debt anywhere that's doing credit reporting on you, and so on and so forth. And this will matter for you in the future. Having good credit is helpful. To get your free credit report, you can follow this link and follow the directions. You're going to want to try to remember which company you're doing this through and use the other ones for the other few times a year that you do this. I have it put in my Google Calendar when I am going to want to do my free credit report every couple of months. So just try to keep track of that, I guess. Last tip here is to feel good about yourself. Exercise, shower every day, eat healthy food, put on makeup, dress flatteringly, get that depression or anxiety treated. Just take care of yourself. The better you feel about yourself, the less likely you are to make impulse buys to bring your mood up, and the more energy that you'll have to dedicate to making sure that your budget is balanced. For a bunch of really healthy, helpful, healthy tips, you can check out the list that I've linked to here. And that is the end of this this month's webinar, online seminar. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please take the time to fill out the survey so that you can be counted as having watched and sat through all of this. Appreciate it, and hope that everyone's final exams have gone well or are going well or will go well.